Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm Zach Markowski with Sharper Pen Image Consulting, specializing in image consulting, art and literary analysis, style, these sorts of things. And today I am back for a third installment here of a new series. Who likes American music? We like American music. I like American music. They like American music. And this day for American music, we're looking at a little band called Parquet Courts. And they're sort of like what I'd probably call like proto-punk modern indie band, which is just another way to say like the best band you've never heard of probably, or if you have heard of them, then one of the best bands that you've heard of kind of on the down low, because they're not exactly a commercial band, you could say. That's just not their appeal or their style. But I have a few songs by them today, and I was just going to read the lyrics because, in terms of assessing the modern human situation, I think their lead singer does a really good job of not just articulating himself, but what he's learned of others in the world, right? So, this song is called Human Performance. Bit of a sad and a dreary song, but that's kind of its nature. So it goes, I know exactly where I was when I first saw you the way I see you now, through these eyes waiting to retry. Those pristine days I recall so fondly, so few are trials when a life isn't lonely, and now if only. I'd never felt it, I'd never heard it. I know I loved you, did I even deserve it, when you returned it? There's no suspicion, no hesitation, believing through the eyes of sore adoration. Witness and know, fractured and hurt, eyes in the fire, blink unrehearsed. Shield like a house, closing its doors, curved in the dark, rinses of yours. Ashtray is crowded, bottle is empty, right? Been a long night, I guess. No music plays and nothing moves without drifting into a memory. Just a haze. Busy apartment, no room for grieving, sink full of dishes and no trouble believing that you are leaving. Mid-sentence tremors, mind at its weakest, one way of shaking off the thoughts that it sleeps with. Witness and know, fracture and hurt, eyes in the fire, blink unrehearsed. Shield like a house, closing its doors, curved in the dark, rinses of yours. In walks the dark. In walks the darkness. I pitch without you. Ask me, do I realize what I'd done and who I'd done to? Indeed, I do know. It never leaves me, just visits less often. It isn't gone, and I won't feel its grip soften without a coffin. Oh, damn. It's getting dark. Breathing beside me, feeling its warmness, phantom affection gives a human performance. Witness and know, fracture and hurt, eyes in the fire, blink unrehearsed. Shield like a house, closing its doors, curved in the dark, rinses of yours. So that's Human Performance by Parquet Courts. And then the next one I have in line, another ditty of theirs, is called Pretty Machines. This one I really like. Catchy song. The lyrics are really good too. So it begins, moonlight, it's hard to believe it, and it's harder to need it, but so easily wanted. Pretty machines, expensive magazines, I've been tricked into buying quite a number of things. Yeah, bullshit and dreams, urban ease, it means I always leave taunted. And you think you're a modern person, you think that you can't ignore silent isolation, my emancipation's in the same place that you get yours. Oh, whiskey sips supinely while my secrets escaped. In the skyline of hell there are no fire escapes. It goes on. Punk songs, I thought they were different, and I thought they could end it. No, it was only a deception. Well, the numbers of tears and the number of beers were dried out and accounted through a number of years, but these days I fear that my window was just a reflection. right? So he thought he was seeing something happening in the world, but it was just what was happening inside him, right? And that's that idea that, he's looking for emancipation. He thinks punk's gonna bring it, punk's gonna end it. Not really. It's another corporation, right? So these days I fear my window is just a reflection. Still, you think you're not a servant. You think that you can't avoid the stylish institution, worshipping illusions, things you thought you could destroy. Oh, crowded, louded crimson was my view from the pit. I was wild, I was weird, I was shackled to it. Right? And that's the adversary mindset, and it's real and it's necessary in life. Yet at the same time, right, it's you could say one of many roles any man or person might need to play, but as a permanent way of being, as a permanent dichotomy of existence. It's there's only the master and slave dynamic there. There's nothing outside of it, right? So when he says crowded, louded crimson was his view from the pit, he was wild, he was weird, he was shackled to it. Yeah, that's kind of every man who has to grow up. And song goes on. Wartime, it's so easy the fourth time, but this side of the shoreline, we've already recovered. Pretty machines, expensive routines, clouded and obstructed by a number of things. Believe me, it's harder to feel these days, it's harder to suffer. So let me point this out, because what I realized when I first heard this or saw this, he says it's harder to suffer, and I thought about that. Yeah, why is it harder to suffer? And the reason why it's harder to suffer is because who's unhappy nowadays? Nobody's unhappy, right? Everybody's happy. And if everybody's not happy, everybody in theory could be or should be happy. And yes, insert every wise man and fool's conception of emancipation, and then you could question emancipation of what, of who, from who, for what purpose, right? None of it makes any, no one actually, very few people ever have answers for any of these questions. But when he says it's harder to suffer, it's because people won't let you. They'll degrade your suffering. They'll try and take it from you. Say, no, you can't suffer. Or I stubbed my toe once too. I know what it feels like. Oh, you have cancer? Oh, I cut my finger on a paper once. I got a paper cut. So there's the comparison of suffering, which is one aspect of it, where people will try and one up each other. And there's also just that idea that people won't let you. They think that they're doing you a favor by trying to take any excess emotion from you, right? Like people will think like, oh, this person feels ways about things. We just need to anesthetize them. We need to entertain them. We need to dumb them down. We need to give them methamphetamine or Xanax or something, right? That'll fix them. Like, oh, you're feeling ways about things. Why would you ever feel ways about things? Is there something wrong with you, fellow human? Are we giving our human performances here, right? Those kinds of things. But specifically also that if you suffer too much and you're too much of a burden, then people will leave you behind, or they'll bail on you, or they'll resent you. Like there's a number of reasons why it's harder to suffer, because no one's got time for it. They got their own shit to do. So it goes on. You think you're a modern person, think you can watch something change and move on without you, side by side without you, listen to the world exchange. Oh, conversation starters over various meets in the skyline of hell where the tired retreat. That's the city, I think, right? That's the glamorous life. That's the sexy life. That's the image of life over the substance of life is what he's talking about there, right? Uh, I don't mean to be like I've known a lot. I've known a lot of people, been a lot of places, done a lot of things, and one thing that is common in the civilized world is yes, our conversation starters over various meats. That's just how we eat. That's just how we barbecue. That's just kind of how we roll. So, but that's the song "Pretty Machines" by Parquet Courts, and I have one more here. It's called "Freebird 2." And yes, I assume it's a take on not just play Freebird, but Freebird as such, right? What did I mention? The one of the highest metaphors in the real history of the liberation of life. I think that's what I've referenced it to in my past discussions on birds in poetry. So the song goes, I've learned how not to miss this age of tenderness that I was so lucky to have seen once. And now that I've become older, I've learned how to brush over my history and how it's sequenced. Yes, growing up, maturing, the highest mark of any morality is to be able to play along with other people, to be able to fit in, especially to one's own culture. An even higher mark of morality is being an opinion giver within your culture, where people actually value your opinion and what you have to say about things and what that might mean for them, whether that's something to consider for themselves or other people, their relation to other people, right? And maybe I'm complicating these lyrics too much, but what I'm getting at is it's a lot to be able to mature and get over yourself. Because how could you ever forget yourself, right? Anyway, when I think about you, I see a person who has not existed for a long time. Before you started using, before I started choosing to do the same things for the same reasons. The first name I called you is not a name at all. It's more of a duty than a function. Often in execution, often with deep confusion of who was I when that name was just mine, question mark. Like a serpent charmer negotiating harm, I live with a basket of your silence. And as the years record, I can feel it growing bored, but I keep a top on in the meantime. When I pass my reflection, there isn't any question of where the person in it came from. When I catch myself thinking and hear the voice that speaks inside, I know where I got my brain from. And oh, by the way, this music video, all these music videos are good. So I could recommend each of these songs, the music video that goes with them from the band. So the last verse, every step I've strayed, it's more of a bridge to a singular chorus, right? Because Parquet Courts does not, you usually have been pointing out where bands follow standard pop format. They usually don't. They're usually just chorus, 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 or not chorus, verse, 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 chorus here and there. Not all their songs have choruses, right? It's like any good proto-punk indie bands, they play with song structure like that. There's only so much you can do, in any art form before you're breaking rules that you shouldn't, right? Anyway, goes on. Every step I've strayed from and followed led me to the same location. Every act I've forsaken borrowed a delivery to now. What have I said, right? Not just bugs trapped in amber, but everything manifesting its ultimate consequence at every moment is a delivery to now. And I've never wondered how I came to be. I feel free like you promised I'd be. Hey, free, I feel free like you promised I'd be. And the way he sings it is beautiful. And the music video is really clever and goes far into illustrating that feeling, you could say. And he's sincere and he means it, right? What any man who sets out seeking emancipation really learns, he becomes enlightened, but never like he thinks he's going to be. Because how could he, if he's enlightened, how could he already know what was to enlighten him, right? It doesn't follow. Maybe, and I don't even want to say consciousness and unconsciousness. Let's just say the development of awareness over time. What you will be freed, but it is not what you think it is. Anyway, this has been uh, Parquet Courts. Again, I'm Zach Morkowski with Sharper Pen Image Consulting. This has been another episode of We Like American Music. So please check the band out. Thanks for checking out the channel. Like, share, subscribe, do all that if you think it's good. Welcome or welcome back, and maybe I'll catch you next time. Thanks. Bye.